Welcome to explaining Mustache Man explaining how to convert fractions, decimals, and percents to his son. Dun dun dun. So, hold on a minute. Let's get it. Son, why did you get a 5 out of 10 on your quiz? Because I don't know. What percent is that on my grade? It's a 50%, son. How come you don't know this? Because I don't know how to do this yet. Let me explain it to you. Let me get my whiteboard. So let's say you got 50% on this test. You know what? Let's say you got a 50% on this test. What if you were to multiply this by 2, you'd get 100%. Now 2 means halved when it comes to percents. But if you want this to be a fraction, you are going to put it in at least 2 ways that are the easiest. 1/2 or 2/4. 2/4 is equal to 1/2 because if you were to divide both numbers by 2, it would equal 1/2. And since 25 multiplied by 4 equals 100, it would also equal. Now, you can either divide the whole number by how many times it'll take a different number to get to how many you got. That doesn't always work. So it's not always the best solution. And if you were going to say that you got 8 out of 10, multiply both by the bottom number since it is able to be multiplied by itself to get 100, which would equal 80%. And for a decimal, that would be 0.8 because 1 is whole. But let's say you got a number that isn't divisible by 10. Or doesn't multiply by any whole number. Like let's say you got 80 out of 1,000. What percent is that? Well, first of all, it's 80. But another way, you could put 8 times 125 equals 1,000. Now that is the only number that would equal 1,000. That's the only way you can get 1,000 with 8. But let's say that you got like maybe a 7 out of 10. It would equal 70 if you multiply it by 10. And it would get 0.7 because it is 3 numbers away from the 1, which is 100%. But let's say that you got an uneven number with an uneven ending. Like 25. That's the amount of you got correct. But let's say you got maybe 10. Now in order to do this, I'm going to have to multiply both by 4. Which 10 times 4 is 40%. 25 times 4 is 100%. Now this would still equal 0.4 because you should always do the percent first, so that's easier for you to make it into a decimal. Now let's do a story problem. Let's say you're sharing 16 sandwiches with 4 other friends, not including you. Actually, including you, you're one of the 4 friends. Now you divide 16 by 4, and you'll get 4. So that means there's 25% of the sandwiches you get. But there's many more ways to do this. Like, let's say you wanted 8 sandwiches. You'd have to have 50%. That means you'd have to split the other 50% by 2 in order for the rest of them to get an equal amount, except for you. Now, there are many ways to do this, but the easiest ways are always the best ways to go. But what if I had 20 questions and I got 5 right? Well, if you got 5 out of 20 right, you'd have 20%, because 20 times 4 is, actually 20 times 5 is 100. Now if you do 5 times 4, it would equal 20. And so that's the 100%, and you'll have to put 20% as the number. And then it would be 0.2. Because it was unwise to try and do decimal first from a fraction instead of a percent first. Good. You understand.